This time, I'd like to call our July the 10th, 2023 meeting for the Nash County Commissioners to order. It is customary for us to begin our meetings with a prayer by a sitting commissioner and a pledge of allegiance. During the time of the prayer, you're welcome to stand and join that commissioner and the rest of us in that prayer. You're welcome to use it for your own prayer if you like, or you're certainly welcome to use it for a moment of silence, whatever you have on your heart this morning. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Dan Combs for the invocation and then Commissioner Wayne Outlaw for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Combs?
Will you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another day. Lord, forgive us when we fail you. Forgive us, Lord, when we don't thank you every day for the things we do and we take you so much for granted. Lord, we just pray this morning for all the blessings you do give us, Lord. The rains you sent this weekend, Lord, that we needed so badly for our crops and our water supply, Lord. We just thank you for that. Lord, we just pray that you would be with us this morning as we conduct the business of Nash County, Lord, and that everything we do will be for your honor and your glory and for what's the best interest of the citizens of Nash County. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Would you join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. We're now on item 4, and that is the approval of the minutes for the month of June. During June, we had 2 meetings, our regular meeting on June the 5th, and then our second meeting of June, which was June the 19th. You have those sets of minutes on your iPads, so thinking you've had a chance to review those. If anyone has any corrections or additions to those minutes, be glad to hear from you, or I would entertain a motion to approve the 2 sets of minutes when someone's ready.
Move for approval.
I have a motion to approve the minutes for both meetings. There's a second to that motion.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. The minutes stand approved, and thank you, Madam Clerk, for the great job that you do. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now on item number 5, which is public comment. During this time, at our first meeting every month, the Board of Commissioners open this time up to hear from any citizen that wishes to speak to the board about any matter. If you have that item that's on your mind listed as an agenda item later on, like maybe a public hearing, we would ask for you to wait till it comes up on the agenda. But if it's not on the agenda and you got something on your mind, the board always likes to hear from our citizens. We do have a sign-up period out front before the meeting. I did not have anyone to sign up this morning, but if you happen to be here, have something on your mind, and didn't realize you were supposed to stand up, we're pretty lenient, we're pretty lenient with that policy. So is there anyone here that happens to want to speak to the board about an item not on the agenda? Seeing no movement, we will close that part out, and we will move on to item number 6, which is the introduction of the 2023 Youth Voice Youth Summit representative for Nash County. And I'm going to call on our manager to present this to the board and then introduce our speaker, Zion Hill, to make his presentation.
Yes, good morning.
Our manager.
I'd like to introduce Zion to you. Zion Hill, he is 17 years old and a rising senior at Rocky Mount High School. He's a member of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Tar River region and attends the Lucy Ann Body Brewer unit. He will speak to you today on a topic that is of interest to him. His presentation to you and obtaining a picture with the full board are application requirements for attendance to the NCACC annual conference in August to attend the 2023 Youth Voice Youth Summit. And Zion, if you'll come forward and speak to the board.
Good morning again, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I am thrilled to discuss 5 significant topics that have a profound impact on the teenagers of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. First and foremost, how teens in Rocky Mount, North Carolina can take charge of their community. As future leaders of our society, teenagers play a critical role in shaping their community. By taking an active part in volunteering, local government, or organizing community events, they can create a positive impact. Moving on, the importance of creative outlets for teenagers in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Creative outlets such as art, music, and dance are vital for the mental and emotional well-being of teenagers. It enables them to express themselves and handle any challenges that come their way. Thirdly, bridging the gap, how mentors can help teens succeed in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Mentors are essential in the lives of teenagers. They provide guidance and support, helping teenagers overcome the obstacles that they face. By having a mentor, teenagers are more likely to succeed in life. Fourthly, unlocking the potential of technology to enhance education in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Technology has the power to revolutionize education and make it accessible to everyone. By leveraging technology, teenagers can learn at their own pace and in a way that suits their individual needs. Lastly, the impact of extracurricular activities on teenagers in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Extracurricular activities such as sports, clubs, and volunteering provide teenagers with a sense of purpose and a belonging. It also helps them develop essential life skills such as teamwork and leadership. In conclusion, these 5 topics are crucial, and it is imperative that we address them to ensure the well-being and success of the teenagers of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Any questions for Mr. Hill?
Yep.
Mr. Belfield?
What are your future plans, like maybe furthering your education after you graduate from high school?
I plan to go to the Nash Community College for 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year college.
And transfer where?
I'm not sure on the college I want to go to after Nash.
Oh, you're not sure at this point? Okay.
That's a great plan. I do know you have a family member with you this morning. Do you mind introducing that family member to the board?
Yes, ma'am. Sir.
And ask her to stand up?
This is my grandmother, Renee Hill.
And what did you say her name was?
Renee Hill.
Renee Hill. Okay, thank you. Welcome, Renee. And you have anyone else with you this morning?
Yes, sir. Can I get a picture of everyone?
Right. Do you have another gentleman with you this morning that you'd like to introduce?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. DeVille.
My name is Mr. Monroe. I work for the Boys and Girls Club in the Tarleton region.
Okay,
Appreciate y'all giving me the chance to talk.
absolutely.
Voice twice, and it's amazing. We hope that y'all can make it out to the breakfast that Saturday.
Right. Certainly, we'll be glad to take a picture with you, but I want to say on behalf of the board, what you went over with us, I think we'd all would agree with 100%, that any teenagers more particular, but any kids seem to always turn out much better when they're involved in structured activities, almost no matter what that structured activity was, but you named quite a few, and we were very pleased in Nash County to have a relatively new Parks and Recreation with a lot of leagues and so forth that they participate in, but certainly we support the Boys Club, and thank you for being here, and we certainly look forward to seeing you in August, and the ones of us that are up there, which I'm not sure who that will be yet, but we'll certainly see you round and about up there, and be glad to communicate with you and have us join us at our table where we might be in there, so keep that in mind. You need a picture, anything else you need? Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm going to Nash Community College to study and major in graphic design because they don't I want to be a game designer, like create video games.
All right.
I was giving a 2-year scholarship from the mayor of Nash Community College.
Okay, so you'll be going to Nash Community College to begin that process.
Yes, sir.
That's a great thing as well, and I myself am a individual that went to a community college 2 years to decide what I wanted to do before I moved on, so I think you made a very wise choice, and I'm great to be able to say I think we have a great community college here in Nash County for you to start that process with. So you're saying keep watching in the future, and some of my grandchildren will be having games they play that have your name on it as the designer. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Sure does. All right, well, let's join him if
Yeah. Let's give him a round of applause for that.
we can do that. Brother. Do we normally do it down front, or does he come and sit here? We'll do it.
Y'all can do it up there. He can come up there if y'all
Come in
gather up
and
there.
Take my seat right here for just a moment, sir. Y'all just gather right around him here.
I like that suit.
Let you visit with the rest of them just a moment.
Good morning.
Right there. I might just let you finish the agenda.
All right.
That looks great.
All right, looking right here. One more time. Good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Give him another round of applause.
Thank you.
Ryan, you're welcome to spend some more time with us if you have any time and see how local government works, and just whenever you think you need to leave, you're welcome to leave. But thank you again for being here this morning. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 230601, which is at 13,660 Old Smithfield Road, and I'll call on Mr. Tyson at this time to make this presentation and request. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Before you start, I would like to note that we have a new member sitting at the front table, Mr. Jonathan Boone. I should have done it when I started the meeting. Welcome. He is our new deputy county manager. I've got to get that term right, and I think I got it right. But Mr. Boone, welcome. Look forward to working with you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Tyson?
As the chairman stated, this morning we have a public hearing on a conditional rezoning request. On the screen before you is the aerial photograph on the left-hand side and a matching zoning map on the right-hand side. The subject property outlined in red is a .87 acre lot. It's currently owned by Misael Urieta Mariano and Veronica Mandajano Ortega. As the chairman also stated, it's located at 13660 Old Smithfield Road, Bailey. It's east of the actual town of Bailey, and as you can see from the green color on the zoning map on the right-hand side of the screen, that area is zoned R40. The property includes an existing on-site well and septic system. As you can see in the aerial photo here, the property was the former site of a Class B single-wide manufactured home. That home was considered to be a legal, non-conforming land use because even though Class B single-wide manufactured homes were no longer a residential land use permitted in this zoning district, this particular one was lawfully established prior to the adoption of that policy, and therefore it was permitted to remain in place. So it was considered a legal, non-conforming land use. The current landowner acquired this property in October of 2021 with the manufactured home in place, as you see on the aerial photograph. 2 weeks later, unfortunately, on October 26, 2021, the manufactured home was damaged by a house fire and the remains were subsequently removed from the property. The Unified Development Ordinance allows for the replacement in the same location of a lawfully established legal nonconforming structure that's damaged or destroyed by fire, with the stipulation that the permits required for that replacement must be obtained within a one-year period after the date of the fire. However, there is no formal notification process in place to either inform the planning department when there is a fire or to communicate to a landowner that they have a one-year restriction on the replacement of a legal nonconforming land use. So given that there's no formal notification process, the landowner's permission to replace that single-wide mobile home expired 1 year after it was removed in October of 2022. The landowner became aware of that expiration when they contacted the Planning and Inspections Department in April of this year to begin inquiring about replacing the home. Since that time, the landowner has searched but has been unsuccessful in locating an affordable Class A double-wide manufactured home, which is an allowed land use under the R40 zoning district. That brings us to the request before the board this morning. The property owner has submitted this conditional rezoning request to rezone the subject property from R40 to A1CZ, Agricultural Conditional Zone. The purpose of the rezoning is specifically to allow for the setup of a replacement Class B single-wide manufactured home, which remains a permitted land use in the requested A1 zoning district. You see an attached survey plat of the subject property. This was prepared by a surveyor shortly after the removal of the old home from the site. This survey serves as the required site plan for the conditional rezoning request. And if the request is approved, the replacement single-wide manufactured home may be located on the lot inside the dash lines that show the minimum building setbacks from the property line. And of course, they would have to be subject to the required separation distances from the well and septic system. As I said, this is a conditional rezoning request, so it does allow for the attachment of reasonable site-specific development conditions with the consent of the applicant. Whenever we review a rezoning request, we're required by state law to consult our comprehensive land use plan. The comprehensive land use plan, as the board, particularly those who participated in its creation, might realize, does not specifically contemplate a somewhat atypical request like this to rezone property to the A1 zoning district. Typically, rezoning requests are going in the other direction from an A1 agricultural classification to maybe a higher density residential classification. But this request could be considered consistent with the plan's description of both Class A and Class B manufactured homes as residential land uses that would typically be allowed in the residential agricultural area. And you can see from the map on the screen, the solid green color covering that area. This entire area is designated as a residential agricultural area. When considering rezonings, we're also required by state law to address reasonableness and concerns about spot zoning. If we return to the zoning map, you can see that changing this lot to A1 would certainly be considered spot zoning because the property is a relatively small lot and it's not located in proximity to any other property already zoned A1. However, given the continuing presence of other legal non-conforming Class B single wides located directly across the road, and you can see them at the bottom of the aerial photo here, here, and here. Given that those are still in place, this could also be considered reasonable spot zoning, provided that you have appropriate conditions attached to an approval of this request. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on June 1st and recommended approval, but specifically subject to 4 recommended development conditions. And the applicant has verbally agreed to these 4 development conditions. The purpose of these conditions is to allow for the replacement of the single-wide manufactured home while limiting the impact of this rezoning so that it does not extend in unintended ways beyond the boundaries of this property. The first condition proposed is that the subject property would be approved for the one-time only replacement of a Class B manufactured home, and that's a single wide, provided that the replacement home is permitted within 6 months of the approval date of this rezoning request. Condition number 2 is designed to keep the zoning as close as possible in land use to the surrounding properties. Following the removal of the replacement Class B manufactured home at some point in the future, that property may be developed for permitted land uses common to both the R40 and A1 zoning districts in accordance with the standard requirements and procedures established for those land uses in the R40 district. So if at any point in the future, a new owner, or perhaps this owner, wants to replace that manufactured home with something that is already permitted in the surrounding zoning district, such as a double wide or a modular home or a stick-built home, this condition number 2 will allow that without requiring them to go back through the formal public hearing rezoning process. Number 3, the subject property should be developed in accordance with the minimum building setback requirements depicted on the submitted survey map site plan. Those would be the dashed lines that I referred to earlier on the survey map. And number 4, this conditional zoning map amendment shall be invalid unless and until the petitioners consent in writing to all the attached development conditions. As I mentioned, the applicant has verbally consented to the conditions, and following an approval of the rezoning, they would consent in writing. The planning board considered this request on June 19th. The son of the applicants and the intended occupant of the replacement single-wide manufactured home addressed the board at that meeting in support of the request, and there were no other members of the public other than the applicants present at the meeting to address the board regarding the request. The planning board unanimously voted to recommend approval, subject to the 4 development conditions that were proposed by the TRC, and the planning board also recommended adoption of the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness that's included in your packet. At the end of the report, you do have suggested motions for either approval or denial of the zoning map amendment. Both include a proposed statement of plan consistency and reasonableness, and of course, the motion to approve has 4 recommended development conditions that we just reviewed. The applicant is here with us this morning in case the board has any questions during the public hearing, and I will pause there and take any questions that the board has on the staff report.
Any questions of Mr. Tyson at this time?
Yep.
Mr. Belfield?
If it's just to replace the mobile home that was destroyed, why do you need to change the zoning?
So a single-wide mobile home is not allowed in the zone that it's in now. So the one that was there in 2021 and damaged in a fire was, for lack of a better term, grandfathered in. And when something is grandfathered in, the ordinance will allow you to replace it if it's damaged by an event like a natural disaster, a fire, something that was not caused or chosen by the property owner within a 1-year period. But unfortunately, these particular owners were not aware of that period, and it expired on them. So it will take the somewhat unusual step of rezoning the property in order for them to be able to legally replace the single wide. But what we hope is that the 4 attached conditions are specifically tailored to this situation and this property and will not cause any sort of ripple effect in the larger area around the property.
Mr. Outlaw?
Under TRC recommendations, point number 1 says, and I've got 2 questions, and after point number 1, that'll lead to number 2.
Okay.
Number 1 says a one-time only replacement. What if there's a fire and they lose this home within 6 months? And what would be the process going forward, since we don't have a process now for that notification?
Well, let me go back to the first question. We can amend that condition to refer to the fact that if the replacement home is damaged by circumstances beyond the property owner's control, natural disaster, fire, that they would again be given the ability to replace it as long as it's permitted within the normal 1-year period. As far as the formal setup of a notification process, it's probably going to require some coordination between the fire marshal's office and the planning department, because there's no formal notice provided to the planning department now when there is a house fire. And of course, not every house fire is going to involve a non-conforming zoning situation. But it would require coordination between the fire marshal's office and the planning department.
So something like that will be put in place? For that
We'd have
notification?
to coordinate that through the manager's office, but it could be, yes.
Does this need clarification regarding the potential for replacement due to another fire or natural disaster?
I don't think it would
Because
hurt.
it's a one-time only replacement.
Right, I don't think it would hurt. We could amend development condition number 1 to reference the standard replacement conditions in the event of a fire or a natural disaster, and I can revise that condition and give it to the clerk following the vote on the rezoning request. We would just need to specify in the motion that condition number 1 has been amended to reference the standard replacement procedure in the event of a fire or natural disaster.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. This time, I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing for this matter. Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries, and ladies and gentlemen, we have the public hearing now open to hear from anyone that's with us today that wishes to speak on this matter, either for or against item number 7. Anyone here wishing to speak? We do have the applicant here, if there's any questions of them. Seeing no movement, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Holmes, a second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? The public hearing is now closed. The pleasure of the board, I would entertain a motion for approval with the stated items listed about the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness, and either approve or deny the rezoning request.
Mr. Chairman, I
Mr.
make a
Combs.
motion we approve the zoning request, along with the conditional rezoning request and statement of plan consistency and development conditions, subject to number 1 to change to what we just talked about.
All right, I think the motion is clear. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries, and gentlemen can move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to item number 8, which is the monthly tax report, and I'll call on Doris Sumner at this time. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Yes, as the chairman said, at this time, I'd like to present the monthly tax report. As you all know, this report is designed to keep the board current on activities in the tax collector's office. The report is for your information only and does not require approval. However, it is recommended that you accept the report so that it will be noted in the minutes. And I'd just like to make a note that this was the report for the month of May. And as you can see, we did have a very strong ending to that month, and we did approve on that collection rate in the month of June as well. So and if there are any questions on this report, I'll be glad to answer those.
What were we, you mentioned June, where were you at the end of June collection rate? Do you have that number with you?
I do have an official number at 99.22%, and that's without our motor vehicles, so we finished the year well.
I was wondering why you smiled when I asked that question. I understand. That's great.
Yes, sir.
It is indeed. All right, we'll wait for the next report then. Any questions of that report from Ms. Sumner? Seeing none, we'll note it for the record, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
We will also go on to the tax refunds, which is item number 9, while you're present, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I do have a refund that I need approval on so that we can disperse those funds.
Give me 1 second, let me catch that item. Like it had to do with solid waste.
Yes, sir. Solid waste fee.
Okay. All right, entertain a motion for approval of the tax refunds.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Refund stand approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Please let your staff know how pleased the board is.
I certainly will, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10 is approval of financing agreement with the Eastern Medical Transport, METS Medical Transport, MedX Medical Transport, and North State Medical Transport. And I'll call on Scott Strufy at this time to make this presentation. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So it's first of 2 visits I have to make every year to get approval for our non-emergency transport franchisees so they can continue their work of doing that. So this year we've added North State Medical Transport to the roster. We vetted them and we brought them in because they also bring some advanced life support capabilities for more complex type transports. So I just asked for the commissioner's first approval, and I'll be back next month for the second.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Strufy at this time? Scott, I'll admit it's the same lady called me about 3 times over the last several months with a concern, and she works at the life care place over by the old hospital near Body Knoll. And her concern was when we did away, and I think you were telling me this was help solve that.
Yes, sir.
You know where I'm going?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yeah.
those patients that need to be transported to some doctor's appointment that have special needs, we apparently didn't have anyone or enough people doing that, and they had to wait an extended period of time to get it done.
Correct. That resource was very limited, so North State has additional capacity to help handle that.
So I can return that call and let her know it's been improved, or
Yes.
do you know who's been calling me? You look like you...
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay, you do, okay.
Yes,
we'll-
sir.
we'll take care
I've
of
been
it.
on those phone calls myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will stay out of it then, but I'm glad to hear that it's getting taken care of.
Yes,
That's
sir.
wonderful. Any other questions,
Yeah, well,
Ms. Belfield?
you have 4 franchises that you're using other than the county.
Now, understand the county is out of that business.
So what?
Understand the county is out of that business now, which was, I think, caused part of the issue that the lady was calling me about. Explain that to him.
Yeah.
Would you
Yes, sir.
explain
Explain that.
like in?
So over a year ago, Nash, we pulled back from providing non-emergency transport function because honestly, we needed to focus on our primary mission of providing emergency response. And the additional load of the non-emergency was becoming a pretty big distractor within the operation and causing a lot of problems. We looked at it financially, operationally, in a couple different perspectives, and it just made sense to allow the public sector to do that work so we could focus on our primary goals.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Belfield? It didn't look
Well,
like it answered it like you wanted it to.
I don't know how I missed that I wasn't aware that we were totally out of it.
Yeah, we had pretty extensive discussions on that, but it's been a little while ago.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield and Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. We'll see you next month, sir.
Thank you very much.
Item number 11 is North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program Resolution. I'll call on Chief Deputy Alan Wilson at this time. Excuse me.
Sheriff.
The sheriff. I saw you both the last time I looked up, but I call on the sheriff then.
Yeah, he had to step back over. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to come forward. Nash County Sheriff's Office is requesting funding for the 4 deputy positions to continue its highway safety. Nash County averages a traffic collision every 2.5 hours, an injury every 6.5 hours, and a fatality every 2 weeks. This application period is for 3 years, and what the grant will be doing is for $219,287, and the local share of the grant will be $93,895. Deputies assigned to work this grant are dedicated schedules to focus on school zones, citizen complaint areas, high collision areas, dangerous driving, providing highway safety programs, and assisting patrol deputies with high priority calls for service. And I have that application here if you are willing to sign it, Chairman.
I'm willing to sign it when I get permission to sign it, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Which we can sure do here. Is this an intermediate year, or is this the beginning of a new one?
This is a new
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Okay. Sure, okay. I thought it
It's just a
may have been.
continuation.
Okay. All right, it's continuation of it. Any questions for the sheriff on this item?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Recently, I contacted the sheriff, and I think it kind of fits in with this particular program, where there was a young man on Westmount Drive that was running a scooter down the middle of the road for a good distance.
Right.
And another young man was videoing him, and I contacted you, and you responded very quickly, and I appreciate that. And I assume that this is part of what this program looks at, so.
That's 100% what it is. The North Carolina Highway Patrol is short here in the district, and as y'all can see, and I'm sure you probably run across driving in here today, dangerous driving is at an all-time high, and that is another avenue that the Nash County Sheriff's Office is going to implement on this dangerous driving. Anything above 90 miles an hour out here on 64. I mean, 80 is ridiculous, but 90 and 100 miles an hour. So we're focusing on that. These 4 are doing it, but other patrol members are going, in their spare time, try to come out and do some of this dangerous driving. North Carolina has ranked us in some of the highest, overall 23rd out of the state of North Carolina, and 20% of these people are young drivers out here doing this today. And the last thing we want to do is go knock on a door and tell them their loved one's been killed. So we've got to do our part with it, and I'm so proud that the governor allowed us to have 4 members here. That's one of the largest grants that happen in North Carolina as far as governor's highway safety, and the governor's from our home county here, but it's greatly appreciated what he's did for our highway safety.
Would this just be a call to 911 in a normal situation if you observe something like this?
That is, just call 911 and say, hey, we have this, and that's what these traffic guys are. And the cities right now that do not have police departments full-time are really calling on us a whole lot. Castalia, Whitakers, Sharpsburg, they're in these towns working with it also, and the part about drunk driving. So there's usually one on day shift and then a squad on at night shift, 2 and 2.
Well, I appreciate your quick response.
Thank you. I'll try to be responsive.
Any other comments, questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 12, which is 2023 Charging and Fuel Infrastructure Grant, needing memos and letters of support. And I'll call on Pat McGee at this time to make this presentation for Nash Community College.
Good morning. The North Carolina Department of Transportation, Steps for Growth, and the North Carolina Community College System have collaborated on providing opportunities for workforce development and energy readiness in North Carolina, or Power NC Infrastructure Grant, which focuses on the installation of 20 electric vehicle charging stations at 10 community colleges across the state, with one of the sites proposed being at Nash Community College. So this would promote safety, reduce emissions, and expand publicly accessible EV charging stations. So Nash County and others have been asked by DOT, by its consultant, McAdams, to provide a letter of support. There is no cost to Nash County. Construction would be complete by 2026. The award date is expected to be before the end of this year, 2023, about 6 months from now. And the chairman had asked if nearby counties had provided a letter of support. At the time we contacted them, Halifax, Wilson, and Edgecombe had not been asked to provide a letter of support, and of those, only Edgecombe is scheduled to receive a charging station. Attached in your packet is a letter of support from Nash Community College, and our recommendation is to authorize a letter of support from Nash County, which has been drafted and is ready to be signed by the chairman. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. There is a slide that shows the locations of the proposed EV charging stations and lists the community colleges that are getting them.
All right, any questions of Ms. McGee on this item?
I have just one question. You may not be able to answer this, and I know this is no cost to the county because it's a federal program. What is the cost for one of these charging stations, including the infrastructure, the whole thing?
I do not know that,
Okay,
but
look
I can
like-
find out
okay.
and let you know.
What's the life of this charging station? Because that's when the cost would come in to replace it.
I don't know that either.
Okay.
So I'll try to find that out.
Okay.
And I'll email everybody.
Other questions of Ms. McGee?
Why did they select the community college for this, for the electric?
If I had to guess, it appears to me that these locations are on 95 and 85 for the most part. And so that's why I assume they selected them, but I do not know why they selected these locations.
Mm-hmm. Not against that, I was just wondering why, if they really move into it, they're gonna need to expand.
Other questions? Pleasure of the board.
So move, we approve.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, by Mr. Belfield and Ms. Wilkins, Commissioner Wilkins, at the same time. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign?
No.
Motion stand.
And I'll just clarify why I would vote no on that, is because it's a good program, and I just don't think we know enough about it. What's the life, what's the funding to replace it, if it has to be replaced, and I know it'll have to be replaced. To Mr. Belfield's point, the accessibility to the general public on the campus at night, isolated, it just seems to me it's not a good spot for it. So I'm supportive of the college, but I just don't think this is something good to put on the college and expand, not knowing what the cost and future costs could be.
Okay. It's a 6-1 vote, Madam Clerk. All right, we'll move on then to item number 13, which is Housing Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool for 2023. Ms. McGee?
The North Carolina Housing Finance Agency has awarded Nash County $162,000 under the 2023 cycle of the Essential Single Family Rehabilitation Loan Pool, or ESFR LP 23, and this program is funded through the North Carolina Housing Trust Fund and HOME, which is Home Investment Partners Program funds. No county funds are needed to execute this program. This program targets properties with moderate repair needs that are essential. All eligible households must be located within Nash County, including its municipalities, and have household incomes at or below 80% of the median income mark. So a family of 4, that would be $60,000 $200. Households must be occupied by individuals with special needs, either elderly, which is 62 and above, disabled, veteran, or a child with elevated blood lead levels. The SFR regulations require that policies be developed for procurement and disbursement, plus client assistance. These policies are due to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency by August 1st. Proposed policies attached in your packet include authorization for the county manager to make revisions to accommodate any future updates needed by Housing Finance. And Nash County has used similar policies successfully for a number of past single-family rehab or essential single-family rehab rounds in the past. We're scheduled to take applications from September 11th through September 22nd, following execution of a funding agreement with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. So recommended actions are to approve the attached policies, authorize the county manager to approve individuals for portal requisition for Housing Finance Agency, and authorize the county manager or designee to execute documents and reports for administering the program.
All right, questions for Mr. McGee on this item?
Yeah, in accepting applications, how do you make, are you using the media so people will know that they can get an application and file
Yes.
for assistance?
We usually issue a press release to the 4 newspapers, and we do a mailing to people who have come in every day of the year. They can come in and apply for a housing assistance request. So we have a mailing list based on that. And then also those who have applied for funds in recent rounds and were not eligible, or were eligible for some funding but also would be eligible for this. So we are pretty much known for our outreach efforts to the Housing Finance Agency and the large number of applications that we get. So we will be reaching out to the media with a press release.
What's the maximum amount for any individual rehabilitation of the home?
I believe this program is $40,000 for the hard cost associated with it.
Other
So it's
questions?
significant, and we're eligible every 3 years to get this grant. Typically, we'll get it now for $162,000, and then in 9 to 12 months, when we've completed 3 units, we will access the pool and do more and more homes as we can.
Who picked the company or individuals that do rehabilitation, the homeowner or Nash County?
We have a consultant with whom we jointly have to apply to Housing Finance, the county and the consultant, and they consider the credentials and the success of both the county and that consultant. And then the individual homes that are prioritized and ranked the highest, we bid those out. And typically, the lowest bidder, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder would be awarded those contracts for rehab.
Any other questions of Mr. McGee? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Belfield, a second, please.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ayrton. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion stands approved. Thank you, Mr. McGee.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 14, Shell Building Financial Resolution. I'll call on our Finance Director, Donna Wood, at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Okay. In your agenda, we have attached a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of 2 installment financing agreements. This agenda item also includes draft copies of the installment agreements, deeds of trust, and related documents in connection with the financing of the construction and acquisition of 2 shell buildings for Nash County. The financing agreements will be with United Community Bank for a total amount not to exceed $6,200,000. The interest rate for these agreements is 5.27%, and the financing is for a period of 10 years. The action requested today is consider adopting the attached authorizing resolution for the execution and delivery of the installment financing agreements, deeds of trust, and related documents in connection with the financing of the projects.
Questions of Ms. Wood on this item? Has it been to the LGC yet?
It goes tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that's what I was thinking it was needed to be done today. All right, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Is there any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and remind us, Mr. Boone, which 2 shell buildings this is.
This will be the second shell building at Middlesex Corporate Center and the first shell building in the NC 97 Industrial Park.
Okay. The 100,000 square foot, okay,
That's correct.
which are both under contract. Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to item number 15, which is budget amendments.
Okay. The following budget amendments are presented for the board's consideration for fiscal year 23-24. The first item we have is with Parks and Recreation. This budget amendment makes funds available for improvement expenses at Glover Park per the interlocal agreement between the town of Nashville and Nash County. This $20,000 will cover the excess cost, $14,245, from the fiscal year 23 improvement projects for the dugouts and concession stand, and the approved project for fiscal year 24 for the football fence, estimated at $9,222. The remaining balance not covered by the funds for fiscal year 24, which are $3,467, will be considered part of the fiscal year 25 Glover Park projects per the agreement we have in place. The next item is with JCPC funding. This budget amendment is to budget additional approved funding for fiscal year 24 for JCPC 7th District Therapeutic Foster Care Program. It's $3,112 additional funding to that program. No county funds are required. The next item I have, number 3, is with debt service. This budget amendment is to budget interest payments for fiscal year 24 for the shell building installment financing agreements set to close July 19th, 2023. The interest would be $283,176, and they would be due in June of 24. The fourth item and last item for the budget amendments is with grants and intergovernmental. This budget amendment is to budget grant funding from Duke Energy North Carolina Coastal Community Resiliency Fund to support a First Street Extension and 911 Tower Road Access Flood Resiliency Project for a benefit cost analysis and a hydrologic and hydraulic study. It's $65,000, and no county funds are required.
Any questions on the budget amendments? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wilkins. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye. Yeah.
Any opposed by a like? Motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is the board appointments, and I'll call on the manager this time to make the presentation.
Thank you. We have 2 appointments requested today. The first is for the Turning Point Workforce Development Board. Last month, the board was presented with a request for Eddie Coates and Mark Froman for the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government. That request actually should have been for the Turning Point Workforce Development Board. So if the board would consider reappointing Eddie Coates and Mark Froman to the Workforce Development Board. It was just an error.
So you'll be serving on both Upper Coastal Plain?
They do, they do. That was what caused the error.
Oh, so we don't need to unappoint them, we just need to appoint them?
No, we just need to appoint them, reappoint them to the Turning Point Workforce Development Board.
All right, any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Appointment stand approved, ma'am.
Okay, and then the next is for the Planning Board. The Nash County Planning Board currently has 2 vacant seats as of June 30th. The departing members are either ineligible or unwilling to be reappointed at this time, so the board needs to appoint 2 new members. There are currently no members representing Commissioner Districts 2 and 7.
On 7, I do need to bring a name to the board. I haven't prepared myself to do that quite yet. I'm talking to 2 different people, but I'll do my best to have it in August. Mr. Belfield.
I'm recommending Robert Cordell, who attended Citizens Academy, and his first choice of serving on any of the boards in Nash County was the Planning Board. So I recommend him. And each commissioner should have a form that he feel that you passed. Did they get a copy of that?
We did.
You did? Okay.
I did. I assume every commissioner got it.
Well, I knew I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any questions on that proposed nominee? I'll take Mr. Belfield's recommendation as a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, I offer motion to approve that.
Okay.
Robert Cordell.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ayrton. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion stands approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was item number 16. We'll move to item 17, which is any comments by a commissioner. Any comments at this time by a commissioner?
Just got a couple of things I wanted to mention.
Sure.
We don't have a mid-month in July or August. Our next mid-month meeting will be in September, so be giving that some thought. The manager may have some thoughts for an inside and an outside presentation. Finally, I wanted to state to the clerk, please make sure you note in the minutes my reason for voting no on that item, number 12 agenda item. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Other comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I just got a comment. We've been working a long time on broadband, and I'm more hopeful now that things are moving along. You know, we've got, thanks to Patsy, we've got a lot of grant money, we've got commitment from the county, we've got commitment from Cloudwise, and we're seeing things begin to move. We're seeing fiber in different communities, including Bailey, Middlesex, Spring Hope, Momire, Sharpsburg, Westmount. And I just think at this time we can say that broadband's on the move, and we're going to get to where we want to be. Maybe it hadn't been as fast as we wanted it to be, but I'm proud we're moving along.
Good comment, sir. I agree with you. Other comments from commissioners?
You know, I read it in the county news, and I know some of you probably get it, or maybe all of it, where some of the rural areas in some states are now using the school buses. They're equipping the school buses.
Right.
So that especially the children in the rural areas that don't have it can get their assignments out while they're riding on the bus, and some of them on the bus at least an hour. And it was really interesting that they've taken that.
I did read that. I just hope the bus climate was different than what it was in the late 60s when I rode the bus, so you could study. Other comments? Do you have something, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah. Excuse me. This is concerning our meeting that's in June. Recently, the June 19th date is June 10th, and it's a federal holiday now. And I hope that we could schedule it not on that meeting, on that federal holiday.
You would note that, manager and deputy manager. Thank you, Mr. Aaron.
All right.
Other comments? I just have two. One, the housing report of our commercial permits, total of 415,000 this month, which is good. Normally it's more than that, but on the housing side of it, we did again break the 60s, and including modular homes, it amounted to 66 new home permits in Nash County that was pulled for the month of June. So we are still growing quite a bit. The second item that I want to discuss just a little bit, at last month's meeting, I did update you a little bit about the meetings that were going on with the City of Rocky Mount, just to keep you updated with the board requested, and I always need to do. I did lay a piece of paper at your desk this morning with some yellow dots on it. It concerns what we know as the Westmount annexation that took place a little while back, and then annexation by satellite, and then, of course, the rezoning of that property. What we have been doing is we met with our General Assembly members. They asked us to continue working with the City of Rocky Mount to try to come up with a bill that we could present to them jointly, that they would be glad to run for us. We have met twice, and when I say we, it's myself and Vice Chair Outlaw, as well as the Mayor of Rocky Mount and the Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Ben Sandy Robertson, as we know, and the Pro Tem Ben P.J. Walker. Those meetings have been cordial. We have made an effort, I think, to get to something that we both could agree on. The last item presentation that we made is what you have here. And the first three items is really what we propose to be able to do. The second items, when we met with the General Assembly, they were items that they asked us, or procedures they asked us to move forward with. We started out with a longer list than this. We have narrowed it down to 1, 2, and 3 that would be covered by a potential local bill. And what it also said was they asked us to meet, which we have done, that's been the General Assembly members. And then item 5, they stated that if we were unsuccessful in coming to an agreement, that then they would ask their bill writers in the General Assembly to come up with some language that they would propose. The language that you see in item 1, 2, and 3 are not in bill writing form. I will tell you that, and they were subject to change should we agree on that to make it totally legal. They are in layman's terms, or actually in my and the mayor's terms, who came up with these. The first item basically says, and we moved away from satellite annexation, didn't put any restrictions on it, but what we were asking for from the county side was if they did do a satellite annexation, that they would do rezoning that was compatible and consistent with the county's land use plan when they moved out into the county on satellite annexation. If it was not consistent with it, what they proposed to rezone it, then it would require us to work together to come up with a mutually agreed upon rezoning that was mutually agreed upon between the municipality and the county. The second item just basically says that it would have to meet the criteria of the general statute as it relates to the percentage in which a municipality is allowed to annex satellite annexation. And then the third item was as it relates to providing services. And that was one of the biggest concerns in the Westmount area, is that they exempt themselves from providing some key services. What this item says, and this is the mayor's language, is that all municipalities provide services included but not limited to the normal services that a municipality supplies, and that it would be done within a period of time. The county asked for a specific period of time, which was 24 months. The mayor came back with a mutually agreed upon period of time after the annexation by satellite of that property. That's where we are at the moment. I will say that this has not been agreed upon by the city of Rocky Mount as of yet. Whether it will, whether it won't, I don't know. We are under a time sensitive item in that we kind of wanted to get something in place before they went home this year. We anticipate it been maybe 2-3 more weeks at the most. We hope to hear back from them in the next few days. And if we should not hear back from or can't agree upon it, I think we would then move to item 5 and ask the General Assembly to come up with some language that they could put forth for a local bill. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions on those items that you may have. I want to keep the board totally informed on what's going on. And of course, Wayne and I both hope we could do it where we could agree upon something. We have, in my opinion, gone to the middle and probably a little further than the middle, but yet we haven't come to terms as of yet. So if you got any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. And first, I'll yield to Commissioner Outlaw, see if he wants to add any other comments to it. Commissioner Outlaw, anything else you want to add?
I'm just hesitant to say much on the subject. We've met. We've had discussions. They have been cordial. I don't really personally see a lot of movement towards this by the people we've met with. To get a local bill passed, you've got to have unanimous support of your local legislation. We do not have that support. But I do want to thank Senator Barnes for her efforts in advancing this process. I responded to Senator Barnes and Representative Chesser with a copy to the chairman over the weekend, and I indicated that short of a local bill, I think this is a statewide issue, and I believe that. I don't know that our local legislators think it's just a county issue. I do think they think it's a county issue, and it is, but it's also a statewide issue. And I know enough about some of the people at the North Carolina legislature to know that they have concerns about the way satellite annexation is handled. It's not right. It's just not right to be able to step out in the middle of a county and completely change the landscape of that county without any input from your county. It just is not right. And I agree with the chairman. We have gone to the middle, I think. We've been fair. And where it'll end up, I don't know. I'm not really expecting anything to happen this session, but I will continue to lobby and be an advocate for the General Assembly to put forward, if not a local bill this year, a statewide bill next year. It doesn't affect anybody right now but District 5, but trust me, it can affect you.
Any questions from any commissioner that'd like to ask about the negotiations? Mr. Belfield?
Yeah, the city seen this?
They have, sir. Yes, sir.
They have?
Yes, sir. I will say the members that we are meeting with have seen it. I do not know how they're keeping their board informed. So I answer it to say the mayor and the mayor pro tem do have it and have had it for about 10 days now. And we have had discussions about it since then.
I don't think they have shared this with the total board.
I do not know the answer to that.
But I don't, well, that's my opinion from some things I've heard.
Okay. Well, that's why,
And that's something they need to do. If they want to, if we want to have success with this, they're going to have to do that, share it with their board, just like we have it.
right, sure. Understood. Other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Were you through, Mr. Bell?
Oh, I was just going to say, I hate to see us with local legislation without their support, and all the other municipalities in the county, too.
Right. Mr. Wilkins?
I was going to say, it's my understanding, if they have seen this, they have not approved it or agreed to it. That's my understanding, so.
Well, I think I've stated that it has not been agreed to yet.
Okay. And insofar as the city or the county having a right not to annex, by that same token, I don't think it's right to deny the city to annex a portion of land if the owners want to be annexed and if it's on the line of the city. So
There's nothing here, you just got it, I apologize
Yeah.
for that, but there's nothing here that deals with annexation at all.
yeah, I was replying to Commissioner Outlaw's statement, but unless you all can come to an agreement, you're not asking us to vote on this today, is that
I
right?
am not. I don't have any need to ask you to vote until I know it's going to get voted on by both members
Okay.
of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the General Assembly would expect us to have a vote on it, or at least a consensus vote from the county board prior to moving forward with it, and we would do that at that time. I'm just trying to keep you informed.
Yeah, thank you.
Other comments?
It's one thing that I support. Any municipality that annex land in should provide full service for resources for annexing that land. And sometimes they don't.
Correct. Which is part, the main issue at Westmount. Okay, there's no other comments on that. That finishes up my little bit of items.
Chairman.
Yes,
I've got
excuse
a
me.
comment on another item before you
Sure.
move on.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. So my comment or question is mostly directed to Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Outlaw, who sit on our DOT boards. I was just seeking an update on the Eastern Avenue project, really as it pertains to progress forward and specifically the intersection with the Sheets and EP Martin Hardee's, if that is indeed moving forward or if it is still on pause.
I will say, I will get back with you with the percent of completion. I think it is 62%, and I'll give you a date of the new completion as proposed now, new completion date. I don't have that in my head, but it did come up at our last MPO meeting, so I can give you that. As far as that intersection, I believe it is moving forward now with the design that was revised in that it will not have any left turns.
Still no left turns.
Still no left turns is where it's at. Nothing has been done to alter that, other than to add the fourth roundabout at the end of Old Carriage down there where it goes into that subdivision, which is on the south end of it.
Okay.
That's the only change that I have seen.
All right.
So our efforts there, and we never did get a response from the governor's office on our resolution asking for his assistance.
Okay, thank you.
But I will get back with you, and I'll provide the whole board with those updates. It has slipped quite a bit, and it's on into, rather than me guess, I'm going to get the information to you.
All right.
I don't have that folder with me today. Other comments? I'll turn it over to the manager for her report.
Thank you. For the co-responder program for June, there were 12 DSS referrals and 1 sheriff's office referral. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the August meeting date because that was moved in our February meeting. The August meeting date is Tuesday, August the 15th. at 9 a.m. The NCACC 116th Annual Conference Business Session will be held on Saturday, August the 26th at 2 p.m., with each county entitled to one vote on the items that come before the membership, including the election of the NCACC's second vice president. We need the board to identify a voting delegate to represent Nash County. I'm not, can you share with the board who all's attending that?
At this point, everyone's attending except for Commissioner Outlaw and Commissioner Cone.
So that's on Saturday at 2 p.m., Saturday, August the 26th at 2 p.m. For, I don't know if all of the members that are going are going to stay through the business meeting or not, but we need to identify a voting delegate.
You want to do that today?
If we can,
Okay.
if,
We should be able to.
okay.
Won't be a problem. You want to do it now, or you want to do it at the end of your report?
We can do it now.
Okay, all right. But you understand the request, we need a voting delegate for the North Carolina Association meeting, which is in Wake County at the date that she gave. And the business meeting is on that Saturday, which is August the
26th.
26th. So who knows they will be there at that time?
I will.
You will? All right, I need a nomination for a voting member.
I will recommend Commissioner Wilkins.
Okay, have a motion for Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Motion stands approved, and appreciate your willingness to do that, Commissioner Wilkins.
Thank you. I want to give the board a couple of updates in the Planning and Inspections Department. A contract has been signed with the new software vendor, and staff have held several meetings to work on that. Aaron Chalker, our senior planner, is taking lead on the project and has met with and will continue to meet with Franklin County, who uses the same product, to become more familiar with it and help move us along. The implementation process is projected to take 6 months, and so for now, we anticipate going live with the new software in January of '24. While we're working to get the new software implemented, staff have identified a couple of UDO text amendments that they will be working to get before the board sooner than later to address a couple of the items of interest identified when we did the land use plan update. They will also be working to get an RFP ready to go before to go out for the full UDO rewrite. And we anticipate pulling a work group together by late '23 and begin that process in early '24. And one final update for the department is related to the code enforcement positions. Those positions have been posted and applications have been received, and Adam reported receiving a number of applications with the certifications that are needed, and he will begin the interview process this week. So that's looking positive right now.
Very encouraging. Very encouraging.
Yes, yes. And Jonathan Boone is working with the planning department and all the staff that are working with the new software. So I thank him for his work with that group. Thank you. Commissioner Wilkins, thank you for the alert that you shared last week about phone calls not getting answered in DSS. Our IT department spent quite a bit of time analyzing the data that they have access to with regards to our phone system, and we have shared that data with DSS so that some positive changes can be made. In short, the situation is that the call volume is more than the human resources we currently have in place. This particular work group received 1,169 calls that week and 411 calls on that particular day that Commissioner Wilkins received the complaint. We will continue to work on improvements in this area, so thank you. They had not received any other complaints, so we appreciate the heads up on that.
Sure.
My concern was, I had called a couple of times for myself, and I appreciate your fast response, but I called a couple of times myself, and all the times I called after the 14th, 15th ring, the call completely dropped.
Right.
I mean, no one picked up, it didn't go to voicemail, and so I hope IT can.
Yeah, we're making a
that.
correction to that. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. And Commissioner Cohn, to your comments about broadband, we have some actually additional positive news in that area. We received notification from the North Carolina Department of Information Technology, NCDIT, that Connect Holding 2 LLC, and the business name is Brightspeed, has been selected for funding under the GREAT Grant Program with a $4 million grant and a match of $2,359,926, which is not the responsibility of the county. These funds are contingently awarded for a project entitled NASH to deploy broadband services to approximately 2,312 households and businesses in Nash County. Ms. McGee and her staff are seeking more information about the application that was submitted by Brightspeed, and in particular to learn the geographic location that Brightspeed plans to be working in. But just know that in addition to the resources that we know of that we're putting into broadband, that's another $6+ million.
Break down on those figures again.
Yes, so it was a $4 million Great Grant Award, and Brightspeed's match is $2,359,926.
And we have no idea where it's at yet.
We do not. They're working on getting that information. I believe Emily was able to reach out to Brightspeed. I know Patsy was trying to get a meeting with them early this week so that we can sit down with them and find out exactly the work that they're planning to do. And when we get that, we'll share that with the board.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to thank all of our departments and staff for pulling together to end the fiscal year 2023 successfully. You know, we're in very tough times with staffing and trying to attract new workers, and I'm just thankful for the talent and professionalism that we have with our workforce here in Nash County. There are just great things going on. I could list every department and provide you with projects and people's names that are just working tirelessly on great projects, and I just want our staff to know how much they're appreciated, and I thank them. And that's all I have.
Okay. We couldn't agree with you more.
Give that date you said, the audit meeting date.
The August meeting date is Tuesday, August 15th. I know that got a little confusing, so I dug back in the minutes and found where we had made that change.
Any questions of the manager on her report? Seeing none, that completes the items on our regular agenda. We do have a need for a closed session. Closed session, of course, will be for economic development matters and matter of attorney-client privileges. And I would entertain a motion to go into closed session after about a 10-minute recess. And then we will convene out here to close the meeting after the closed session. So the motion needed is a motion to go into closed session. Moved by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Wilkins. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. We stand recessed, and then we'll convene in closed session. Thank you.